Today we saw the energy debate, the big face-off at the National Press Club between Chris Bowen, the Energy Minister, and the opposition Energy Minister, Ted O'Brien. And of course, it wouldn't be an energy debate without Chris Bowen giving us here at Sky News an honourable mention for all our hard work covering his work or lack thereof.
You've got strong views about these matters, which you express on Sky News in the evenings, and that's your right. I disagree with the way that you look at these matters. I disagree with the approach that you take. It's disingenuous and dishonest of you to blame all this on renewable energy, as you do on Sky in the evenings. It's just not right, sir. It's just not fair.
As the saying goes, the truth only hurts when it should, Energy Minister. Now, of course, Ted O'Brien had quite an easy part to play today because everyone knows the truth of the state of energy in our nation. They've been paying for it by bleeding out of every orifice thanks to the Labor's great race to green energy. So here he was, just stating the obvious.
Under Labor, that future will see Australia become poorer, weaker and more dependent on foreign supply chains. Under the Coalition, Australia will become richer, stronger and fiercely independent. Anyone hearing that is eye-wateringly aware of the facts. All you have to do is consult your latest energy bill. But then they had a bit of biffo, much like we saw last night between the Treasurer and the Shadow Treasurer. But these guys seem to be on a Chinese menu theme of some kind.
You mentioned opposition modelling, which I think is a generous term. I mean, this is the document. I've seen more detailed menus in a Chinese restaurant than this document. This is clearly policy on the run. It's been written after the budget reply.
And this is coming from the Minister, whose own plan wouldn't fit in a Chinese fortune cookie. If anything, that's probably where it would belong.
Causing many viewers to be like, hey, this reminds me of something. This is reminiscent of an old Australian gem.
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal?
But in all seriousness, it was a good, fiery debate. But of course, anyone watching knew that Chris Bowen had lost before he stood behind the podium.
Oh, I know. I've got to say, O'Brien's line was a bit better than Bowen's, I think, because Bowen had obviously clearly come up with that one beforehand, and O'Brien had to think on his feet and actually came up with a decent zinger. I think the biggest problem for Bowen, and it shone through today, and you can see it in that answer when he's talking to Chris Bowen there, and you notice how he goes, what you say on Sky in the evenings, as though it somehow discredits what Chris Bowen, one of the most experienced and respected political journalists in this country, says. You know, when he says something, you stand up and take notice. But he's just so arrogant, and it just oozes out of his pores.
I think, yeah, if you play the ball and not the man, and I think that actually will work more in Bowen's favour. If he just plays a straight bat and looks like he's not the one getting snarky and he's the one that's dealing with facts and everyone else is not. And, of course, he was trying to deflect from the fact that power prices have gone up. I don't know why he wouldn't just say, well, yes, look, part of it has been, this component has been renewables, but that's going to come down.
Well, all he could say was, they're higher than I'd like.
That's right.
Well, I mean, yeah, we all know that.
But just to get back to the Chinese restaurant analogies, because I think that is the real take-home message of this debate.
Take home,
Ted
well
O'Brien,
done.
I wrote a piece today praising Ted O'Brien for just getting on board the metaphor, just jumping on board the dragon, you know, jumping on board the Chinese thing. But he says, because he is doing it on the run, he says, well, your policy wouldn't even fit in a Chinese fortune cookie. It's like, no, it wouldn't fit in a fortune cookie because it's really big and comprehensive and detailed. And of course, what he meant to say was would fit in the comment. But then he said, because it's just filled with slogans. It's like Chinese fortune cookies aren't filled with slogans. They're filled with fortunes.
Sorry, they are filled with slogans.
No, it says like, you know, may you live in interesting times, or, you know, you will come into great luck.
Some of them are quite depressing, actually.
Yeah, it's like...
Your wife, this isn't a fortune at all.
Your wife's left you for your best friend and the kids are at home alone in the house.
Goodness gracious me.
No, that was just my text message.
If you open your fortune cookie and that's what shows up, please let me know.